Hello and welcome to The Voyage Within. I am your host, Brittany Jackson, and I specialize in personal development and how to live an authentic life leading from your heart. If you were with me last week, I uploaded an episode about my previous traveling experiences. That was one of my favorite topics to talk about because I love traveling, and the episode went way longer than I had planned or knew it would. Looking back in hindsight, I can see how the episode would have taken so long because I have done a lot of traveling, so there was a lot of traveling experiences to share. Before that, on the podcast, I had went through a journey on the name change, an old name that I used to use for this podcast, and then introducing my new name. And now on the other side of these journeys, what is this going to look like? Where is this podcast going to go? I look forward to getting into sharing about my personal experience currently. I have shared very authentically and vulnerably along my podcast journey about what it has been like starting something new. The excitement of taking the leap of faith, exploring some different topics that had been arising throughout the beginning of my journey, and then going through a setback and a hiccup and how to work through that and overcome it. And then I had a big trip planned, so I shared about some travel experiences and went into that trip. Now on the other side of that vacation I just took, I feel very tired, I feel very exhausted, and I feel very uncertain about what this podcast journey has been like and where it is going to go from here. I have chosen to have faith in the process, and I have chosen to show up anyways. When I first started this journey, I had a conversation with my therapist that I would try this podcast for at least 6 months to see how I felt and where it went, make that commitment for me. Because in the beginning of trying new things, there's a lot of discomfort and uncertainty. There's a lot of insecurity. I'm a student, I'm learning new things, and when you are outside of your comfort zone, you tend to feel uncomfortable and you have a lot of doubts and questions about what you are doing, why you are doing it, and where you are headed. So I wanted to make sure I gave myself a substantial amount of time to really sit through that discomfort and those challenges and those lessons, to make sure that I gave it a good run for what I had. So sitting here today on this new episode to share with you, I didn't really feel like recording and I didn't really know what to say. I had an original outline prepared, but it didn't feel authentic to me. I wanted to share with you where I was at and not feel like I had to have some sort of script ready or some sort of performance, some sort of thing about how to or maybe answers and solutions. So on today's episode, I want to talk through the discomfort and the uncertainty together. How do you show up when you don't know what to do or you don't know what you want? Or maybe you went through some big life transitions and you're not really sure who you are on the other side of them. Maybe you're questioning everything that you're doing and it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything right. That's where I am on my journey right now. I have shared in previous episodes that I was headed in a certain direction in the last chapter of my life, and I thought my life was going to look a certain way. And then things didn't pan out as I had thought they would or I had hoped for, so I had to completely reroute and head in a new direction in my life. And in this chapter, that is what we are experiencing here together on this podcast, that I am finding out who I am on the other side of these changes. I am exploring what I want or where I want to head with my life. I had introduced the new name of my podcast, but I didn't really explain why The Voyage Within is important to me. The voyage within is the most important journey you can ever take because it's really tuning in with who you are. Who are you? What do you want? How do you feel? How are you thinking? And it's not easy to get those answers within ourselves about ourselves. And that's why I tend to use different resources from self-help books or other podcasts or supports. Whether it's therapy, friends, family, support groups, mentors, other people that can help shine a light in areas that I may not be able to see on my own. And there are just times in life where it is going to take a while to get the answers you seek. Sometimes there's just a waiting period where the seed has been planted, but it takes a while to take root. While I was on my trip in Iceland, I was in a bathroom and I saw this quote written on the wall. It said, "Life is what happens to us when we are busy making other plans." So the key to happiness is to remain flexible, to remain okay, to adjust, learn, and grow. In this transition, I don't understand who I'm becoming. I don't understand what I want, but I'm willing to take the time, the commitment, and the investigation and figuring out what all of those answers are. And along the way, I have faith that I will find my true self and I will feel confident and good doing whatever I am doing that ends up being right for me. Discovering ourselves is the most important gift we can give to ourselves. What I do know for sure is what I don't want out of life. I don't want to live a life that I am told to live just because other people think that that is the way you are supposed to live. I don't want to conform or do things that don't feel right or authentic to me. I don't want to invest and stick to things that don't feel good. And that is the hard part in this journey. When is it okay to not feel good based on things are just new and uncomfortable? And when do things start not feeling good because they're not right for you? Or we're settling, or we're compromising pieces of ourselves that we shouldn't be compromising. And I think those answers take time to receive. The thing is that in life, it does just take time. It takes time to find out who we are not, who we want to be, and what we need to do to get to where we want to go. One thing I know for sure is that there's no right or wrong way to live life. We are all on completely different journeys, creating and doing completely different things, but that is something I have to take a step back and remind myself. Because when we live in a world where there is so much comparison and we are seeing the highlights of everyone else's life, it can be hard to remember that there's not a right and wrong way of doing things because society tells us that there is. But when we detach from other people's lives, what they're doing, and what society says, who are we really? And that's where the voyage within takes place. That is when it is important. There have been things along my journey that I was just doing because society told me that that is what I should be doing or that's what people do that ended up not being right for me. One of the first things that took place was me realizing that substance use with alcohol, marijuana, partying, anything else was not something that suited me any longer. It is not something I wanted to do, and that's not the person I wanted to be. So I detached from those societal norms of that is how you hang out with people, that is how you socialize, and that is how you connect. And I found a new way of going about that through recovery communities and connecting with people from clear-headed spaces and vulnerable and honest hearts. Another thing that didn't serve me that I was just doing because it was normal in society was eating meat. Obviously, the majority of the population is raised on traditional meat dishes, and it's the majority of what is offered at all restaurants. So I was eating meat for so long because that's what everyone else does. That is what is normal in society. And so I had to take a look inside of myself and reflect on what I really wanted and what I believed was right. And for me, I am such a huge animal lover that I decided that that is not what I wanted to do, and that is not what I wanted to take place in. And then there's other ways of reflecting. What do I really want for myself? Is it furthering college degrees and getting more certifications? Is it working with what I have? What kind of job would I like to work? Do I want marriage? Do I want children? What kind of relationship or family dynamics would I want? And all of these things are things that we can reflect on for ourselves to see what is really right for us and why. I feel like we live in such an unintentional culture that lives by so much of the subconscious that it is such an important value to me to awaken to who I really am and what I really want out of life. Life is so precious to me, and we only have one life to live, and I want to live it as authentically to me as possible. But the trick to it all is that we do change throughout the journey. What we once believed in or once served us may not serve us anymore, or we may not believe in those same things. So when we are constantly changing, do we stick to the things we have always done in life, or do we adapt to try something different to get different results? By evaluating these things and staying true to who we are along our journey is how we become our true selves and live a life that is right for us. Stay true to who you are along the journey, no matter what version of that self you are. Stay honest, check in with yourself, and all chapters of your life will lead perfectly into the next chapter, and you will always end up where you are supposed to be. Rather, this chapter you are currently in is preparing you to start a brand new chapter you have never done before, or remind you or teach you of something that maybe you should reroute to and try again in a different way. Regardless, everything leads into one another and flows exactly to the destination you are meant to be. And we are on this journey together. You are not alone, and I'm here to share where I am in my life, how I'm feeling, and what I'm going through, in hopes that you can do the same for your life too. I am going to end today's episode with some affirmations. Feel free to say them to yourself or out loud. I am capable of doing hard things. Where I am headed is worth the challenge. I do not have to embark on this journey alone, and I have people that are here to support me. I owe it to myself to be honest and true to who I am and what I want. I would now like to say a prayer for you. Feel free to invite in whatever you believe in. God, I pray over the listener. I pray that they know that this storm that they are currently facing and the uncertainty that they feel are preparations for the next chapter that they are about to embark in with you by their side. I pray that they feel your presence and the support of those around them that want to be there for them and want to see them succeed. I pray that they trust the process and they believe in themselves enough to try. Amen. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode on The Voyage Within. I am so excited to get into a new subject with you next week. If you enjoy listening in, please share any feedback that you have. I would love to know who is on this journey with me. And please make sure that you share this episode with a friend, maybe somebody that's struggling with where they are in life and want to know that they are not alone. That's what we are here for. So until next time, live well and be happy.